Thank you, Robert.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, Robert? How are you? Good. Yeah.
There you go. All right, call to order. Let's, say the pledge to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, have a couple online.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is the regular monthly meeting here for October of the Smithfield Township Planning Commission. Dave, I'll give you one. We're going to go as part of the sketch plan review. Guys, if you would, please. I'll hang on to these couple of extras here for when, for when Michael comes. Here you go, hand that over to him.
All right now?
Yeah.
Mitch has one, so.
Yeah, but you.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, but Michael needs one.
It's got one.
We're good?
Mike's got one.
Everybody's got one? Good. All right. Couple of.
I got the color pop.
You're in the front.
All right. So we'll call the meeting to order. We have everybody present except Bruce and Doug. I don't know where Doug is. Bruce has said he was not going to be here, but we do have a quorum. There are 5 of us here on the board. We did the pledge. Minutes. Take a look here. We have 2 sets to look at. If you would please. We have the August 12th regular meeting.
Should we accept the minutes as written?
Dave Strunk makes the motion to accept the minutes. I'll second it. Any discussion, guys? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, August 12th is approved. Let's look at the 24th, which was a joint work session with the supervisors.
I'm not having it.
There should be 2 sets. Yeah, that should be in there. It's, yeah, just the minutes. Yeah, you saw it, yeah, yep. I make a motion, we accept the August 24th minutes. Seconded by.
I have a question. On the second to the last paragraph, it talks about Scott Amore discusses how COVID may impact student enrollment.
Yes.
What was that for? Did we talk about that?
I did.
Oh, I don't remember.
I did it when I addressed the board, so we'll go find out soon how many people are permanently going to be living here when they have to go back to brick and mortar schools.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Doug.
Finally.
You are gonna need that one. Okay, I didn't read it, so, all right.
Drawing.
First, that's mine, but yours is probably under the top there, okay. We have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion on the joint minutes?
I have one.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't see anything in here about what is, we had like 35 people here on a particular issue that they feel is really impacting their part of the community and our township in general. And I don't see anything in the minutes as to what the supervisors are going to do about it. They didn't write they were going to do anything. Yeah, okay, these people are here. Are they going to look into it? Are they going to get back to the people, back to the community and address the complaints in 6 weeks? Or, what's going to happen? They didn't say they were going to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
These are minutes.
I understand that, but why is that?
well, I'm just saying, this is minutes, we're just approving what was said, so I don't remember them saying they were gonna do anything.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I missed it, but it's inconceivable to me that you can have 30 or 40 people here making what they feel is a valid complaint for their part of the community, and there's no response to that?
Well, apparently there wasn't.
There are attorneys involved in that, Robert?
There are tons of attorneys, involved, right? So there's, I don't see you were, your lawn care sacrifice, thank you.
I mean, I don't think we were running that part of the meeting anyway, Scott, so.
No.
That's more of an issue for Robert, but, and the commissioners, supervisors.
Yeah, we were talking about the minutes themselves, which, for the chunk that I was here, looks fine to me. I was here for about 2/3 of it, so. Oh, it says I left 5:03, there you go. Here for now, so. All right. These are just to approve the minutes, as certainly as it pertains to our specific part when we were talking about the ED. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Rest of it's on the supervisors, that's okay. Any public comments on the agenda? Hearing none, we move on. Plans to act upon, not really a plan to act upon, but we do have something here. We have a sketch plan and redevelopment of Black Buffalo. What do we have?
Hello, I'm Joe Correa, I'm with JG Company.
Okay.
We're a real estate development, and design builder. Also with me this evening is Mark Buckfall with TM Associates. We were part of the project team for the Bygone development, that you may remember from a few years ago.
Yeah.
On the Zoom is, Dan Harrington with Skinnell Properties. They are the equitable owner who has the airport property under agreement purchase. Also there is Tyler Kraus, who's with, McMahon and Associates. I don't know that we're gonna get into any type of traffic conversation tonight, it's just a sketch plan, but Tyler's firm was part of the Bygone project as well. So they have some background on the traffic, details from that project. So I guess to start off, I'd like Dan with Skinnell just to give you a little bit of an introduction of who they are and what their firm's about, and then Mark will just walk me through the sketch. Can you hear us all okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Can I just ask a question before you guys start? Did you guys receive Boucher and James' letter?
We did, but honestly, we haven't even looked at it because it came in late in the day. So happy to go through any comments that you may have, but.
Oh, we're not diving into details just yet. I don't even know what this is, so let's start there.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that when they, between the station is aware of it.
Came out of, yep.
Open it up.
Yeah.
Dan,
Go ahead.
Dan, so turn
You
it
ready
over.
for me? Okay. All right. So my name's Dan Harrington. I'm with Skinnell Properties. As Joe said, we've placed the airport property under contract, and we're working with Joe to get through the due diligence and get the site designed and ultimately, hopefully, put Black Buffalo's building on the airport property. Skinnell Properties, we're one of the largest industrial developers, privately owned in the country. We work coast to coast and also in Europe. We've been around for 30 years, and you know, we do mostly industrial development all across the country. One of the reasons we kind of came upon this airport property, we have a client named Black Buffalo, and they're a company that's developing technology that they create machinery to actually 3D print buildings. The ultimate goal is that they could build this machinery, take it out to a job site, and 3D print a house or a building or hopefully someday industrial facilities. So they're developing that technology, and they need a home for kind of their research and development, and ultimately the ability to build their machinery. We've been looking for a site that works for them. We looked in Long Island, we've looked in New Jersey, and by luck we kind of came across this airport property. One of the nice things about the property is it not only gives them space to construct their initial building, which we have designed and on the plans in front of you, but it also gives them the room to kind of grow. It also provides room for maybe some of their complementary vendors and users and people who create products that go into their mixed designs for their concrete could ultimately find a home also on the airport property. One of the other benefits that we found about the airport is that there was another user named Vigon who's been looking at placing one of their buildings on the adjacent property to the runway. And we've been talking to them, and we're hopeful that we can come to terms with Vigon, and hopefully we got 2 buildings that would ultimately be going up as soon as we can get those started there on the property. Some of the other plans for the site that we have in front of you tonight is Black Buffalo, as part of their 3D printing process, they have what they call kudos and quads, and the kudos buildings are small resort style buildings that they could then rent out for people wanting to come to Stroudsburg for short periods of time. They'd like the ability to possibly construct facilities like that on the airport property, as well as what they call quads, which would be like single family housing that would, they call them quads because they come in groups of 4. They'd also like to bring some of that use to the property if allowed. Primarily, the site would be used to develop the Vigon, Black Buffalo. Most of the uses will be industrial, but if possible, Black Buffalo would like the ability to also build potentially these residential style units and single family housing. I think that's all for my spiel. So Joe, if you want to take back over, or if you guys have questions for me, I can take those.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So, really the priority here is the Black Buffalo project, that you see on the left-hand side of the plan, and that industrial facility of about 130,000 square feet roughly. Tonight is really all about soliciting as much feedback as we can get from the Planning Commission. Again, we did receive the review letter and haven't really digested it entirely. We know there's some conflicts with the kudos and the quad uses.
Yeah, like they're not permitted.
Yeah.
At all.
So that's not, it's something that we know Black Buffalo is interested in, but for the time being, if it's not gonna happen, so be it, but that is.
I don't see how it could happen.
Short of asking for any variances or any type of overlay district, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a dead issue. I don't even see how you could get a variance through.
Have you read the engineering letter?
No.
Yeah.
You should read it.
I'm just starting to flip through it. Is it?
There are
Okay.
variances.
Sounds like it's feasible because it's.
There are some aspects that are and some that aren't. So, on your application, you said you were submitting for mixed-use development. Is that correct?
Well, that's generally, yeah, we have the Black Buffalo, which is industrial, and then. Which one is Black Buffalo? Sure, the shade. I can just walk you briefly through this.
Yeah, walk us through it. That'd be great, yeah.
So, just to orient you to the plan, going north-south here, there's Airport Road. We have the Airstrip Road, with the proposed improvements that were, approved, by the owner of the airport. He submitted plans, had some plans approved for the upgraded Airstrip Road. Bill hopes that moves forward and can be dedicated as a township road, as long as it's built to township standard, and I believe that was the conditions of plans that were submitted. Vigon very much still in play right now, and if they can get that building built as soon as possible, they will. But then on the north side, the airport part of the site, we have the Black Buffalo building here, which will come off of this Airstrip Road, and it has just different kind of aspects of the plan of the building. They're factories, a little bit of warehouse space, some office, covered storage, parking. I know the ordinance, I think it's gonna be upwards of 130 to 150 parking spaces required based on the size of the building. Their maximum, right now, what they're thinking is probably about 40 employees per shift, if they.
Yeah, I remember with Viacom, we went through a per shifts thing. I remember we
Yeah.
talked about exactly that, like it was a bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, you know, right now, we're showing 22 parking spaces. I think they probably need about 50, but that would be falling well short of the requirement. So that's something we have to work through. And then being that it's gonna be an industrial building, remaining on building height, because the way the ordinance is written, again, I may have to work through this with the township and James. If we were a mixed-use development, we could go to 60 feet, but if we just stay under the M1, we're still restricted to 35. And 35 is just too low for any kind of industrial building, based on today's standards.
I recall the Viacom project, we did provide there.
We did, we obtained a variance for parking and building height. The ordinance does allow for higher buildings, but only in that mixed use option. And we understand that the way the ordinance is written, there's some technicalities as far as these uses would be permitted, but we're not in the East District.
Correct.
And you don't have frontage on.
You don't have frontage on state roads, so
Correct, right. So.
it's not a technicality, those are specifications.
I'm sorry, what happens to the airport?
The airport.
To the strip?
I
Gone.
mean, I don't wanna speak for Scanell, but that would need to be an airport.
Right.
I'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, residential units wouldn't be very attractive.
I think, you know, looking at the plan, just to understand the thought process was, you know, Black Buffalo's coming in, they're creating this technology that can build these buildings. If they could get this small resort and maybe these quads, be an opportunity for the folks that work here, to live here, and also they would build those buildings using that technology, so it would kind of be a showcase for us. Okay, so that was the thought process, and the fact that we're doing industrial, we're doing industrial here, we have industrial here, and we still want to maintain and do some additional industrial, but we know that we have residential to the north. We thought that putting those uses between the industrial and the residential might soften that, be more of a gradual change of use, but we understand, made by zoning, that was sort of the thought process. And, you know, right now, they're hot to trot, they wanna go, so I think any plan that we would submit formally would probably just be limited to Black Buffalo. Right. We wouldn't even show any of this, and maybe that's just a longer road that we'd have to work with the township one way or the other, if that would be feasible or not, or, you know, maybe we just have to become additional industrial. Right. So we don't want that to get in the way of, or with this, but we want to get your feedback if you were receptive to the.
This says phase one, the lower, the Viacom, that's not fair, right? This is just.
It is not, and if you recall, when we were working with Viacom, the building was a 260,000 square foot building. We got it fully entitled, but he was only going to build 130 initially, so that's why it's this big. And, you know, they're still, and Canal is working with the owner of the airport, going through due diligence, and Viacom is still part of that discussion.
Part of what discussion? They're gonna sell it?
They're, right now, Scanell is under contract to purchase that property.
Okay.
So the arrangement with Viacom, the business terms that are being discussed right now, is that Viacom would lease the building.
That is some sort of lease back, okay. That's,
And, you know, you guys are familiar with the airport, it's fairly flat, we have the runway, there are wetlands that we're gonna have to work through, there's even some, floodplain along the periphery. I think just like Viacom, we need some relief on some of the buffers off the wetlands. I don't believe that we're gonna be impacting them to the extent that we would need any zoning relief, but we may need some relief from some of the outer buffers. A lot of the areas that we'd be impacting are pretty much either lawn or even existing, buildings today, but again, that would be something that would come to further down, we got a little bit deeper.
Have you thought about stormwater management?
Yeah, so,
yeah.
just like Viacom.
It's like the water table is like 6 inches deep.
No,
But it's not much.
It's
It's low.
It's not as shallow as you think, because we did testing, this site, it was generally.
Well, what did it look like? We had 20 inches of rain in August and September. I measured it, every inch of it. It flooded me, it blew my drainage, it blew my septic line open, it blew all of it. So what did it look like? Like a flood, right?
When we went out there and did the testing, it was
I had
actually
herons in my yard.
2 to 3 feet.
Okay, but what did it look like in August?
I wasn't there in August.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I think we just did the testing back in, we did some preliminary testing in September, so I should have that formal report, but it was only a couple weeks after I yeah,
You remember that, I'm sorry, you recall from Bygone, from the project, that there was a stack, in fact, I have them.
Yeah, you
I should have brought them in. I have the stack of, stormwater evaluation and drainage project evaluations, costs attached and so forth, all the mechanicals, right? Yeah. About that high, stack of stuff. That's gotta have to be done here too. And it's not all just, township, based on the township requirements. It's the DEP through the conservation district, they're gonna.
We did Bygone, we went through all those reports and studies,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do the same here.
Right.
And the groundwater was similar, where it was only 2 to 4, some places it was 6 feet. So when we did Bygone, we're gonna have the same situation. Our basin bottom is pretty much almost this grade. So we had to go up from there, because you have to maintain a certain distance between the bottom of your basin and the groundwater. Right. So we kind of chased all that grade, and, this building is generally being built in fill, more. Right. And, Joy, had done some preliminary plans for this site as well. He had done some testing, and, he had proposed a basin for deep, he got an NPDS permit. I don't know how far he went with the township, but he had basins this area and that area.
Yeah.
And, the infiltration was adequate, but again, they're gonna be shallow, large basins where we're starting at pretty much this grade and having to build berms and build it up and then build it up and build it up. So we know.
I don't know whether this helps you, but during a heavy rain, Scott asked, I happen to live up the hill, so I frequently get a chance to drive down there. And I'm always curious what the airport looks like during heavy rain, because we've had discussions before with the township about the fact that this is a river bottom. This is a riverbed. That no longer is a riverbed, but the river runs through it, literally, about 18 inches below the ground on average. And in a heavy period of heavy rain, it comes to the surface, and it's in patches, such that water birds like ducks and geese find temporary home there. And right here, just by your lot 2 here, is basically underwater. The area where you see the Bygone plant, just a little bit to the west of that, that's also a lake, temporary lake, as is certain areas of it up close to Airport Road.
The road.
So, to say, and this has been delineated in here. This has already been marked as wetland here, as you know. So.
Where?
Up right by Airport Road, yeah. So I would hesitate here, and I would mention to the supervisors that right now, its use as an airport is what we would call a light use. And it's light for a reason, because if you start bringing heavy trucks in, you start building concrete components, you start putting up big structures, just as I told the gentleman from Bygone, you're going to face a whole lot, as you know, of engineering challenges and permitting challenges. Now, I know that manufacturing is permitted by right, is it not? Mm-hmm. So there's not much we can say about this except for, the details of construction, the proximity to water, the proximity to floodplain, that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing we should be looking at very closely and requiring, the standards that we normally would require, much like we did with Bygone. But as to these other uses, that's the whole nother thing, and if you guys agree that this is not time to bring those other uses up, then
Well, we really do, I mean, we don't wanna dwell on it, but we want your input.
Yeah.
But that's why we're here, that's what we
I think
want.
it's already been said.
Yeah,
We wanna focus on the Black Buffalo, but we wanna understand if you do come at a later date and wanna entertain that, what's kind of the appetite for.
Okay, Doug, you guys gotta read the engineering report.
I did. I read it all the way through.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause, Robert, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, let me distribute some of these. I prepared a list of 15 companies, including every major aircraft manufacturer and most of the airlines that are flying today. And what they're doing is developing electric air taxis. And, I think I'm running out of here.
I got a spare,
You got an extra?
yeah.
I'm Robert Linden, I'm a supervisor here.
Robert, you want your other two back?
I'm not here to make a comment on this plan. I'm here to say that, once this airport is gone, it's gone. And my feeling is, you may be able to make more money keeping the airstrip than, developing that Black Buffalo on what is now the airstrip. The reason is that this is the only regional airport around here that I think is, capable both by weather and also,
You read about the
by
Mapoko
focus, with population in the area. Be, interesting for air taxi, which is going to be both freight and passengers. And, the idea of getting rid of this airport forever, I just think maybe on your part short-sighted. And then I think, if you study it, there may be a lot more possibilities for economic advancement, both for you and for us, in keeping the airstrip. As far as Black Buffalo, I can say for myself, I'd certainly work with you in figuring out, a way of moving it off the strip, or maybe moving the airstrip, leaving that Black Buffalo where it is, but, I just think you're giving up, a really important future use of this by getting rid of the airstrip. This is not something that's far in the future. Flights are supposed to start in a few cities like Dubai, by 2023. Every major airline is invested in these companies. And, it's a coming business. And your guys are businessmen, and I'm sure you understand it. I'm just saying, I'd like you to think of this as an alternative, especially because we've worked with you and see if there's a way of moving things around so that we can keep both the airstrip and Black Buffalo. So that's all I have to say.
Robert, what are chimerical flights?
What are what?
Chimerical flights.
I'm sorry, what's the word?
Chimerical, CHIMERICAL, as in chimera.
Probably meant commercial.
Commercial, it's a
Oh, that's a typo.
typo.
Oh, you were
It's not a chimera.
were you using, voice
Yes,
activated?
I have to check this. Okay.
Missy,
Yes,
Oh,
can I just ask you to give us a skim over the letter?
sure.
Wait a second, you're creating a landlocked lot.
Yeah, well, that's
Okay,
brought up.
sorry, let me.
That's why I said let Missy.
I'm like, hold on, let me look at this. Whoa, time out.
Okay.
Let Missy give us the
So,
guide.
an overview, overview of the uses, I'll start with first. So, in your schedule of, district regulations, under the M1 district, it says to refer to the EZ district. Under that, there's a list of permitted uses. Light industrial is permitted, the resort is permitted, multifamily is not, mixed use is permitted. So then you go to the mixed-use option, and that's where your multifamily is allowed within this development. It meets the 50-acre requirement. So they are permitted to build those multifamily homes.
Is lot 4 50 acres?
It is not. So
Right.
we
This
read
is
it as,
not- I mean, I understand what it says, but
yeah,
that is not. I mean, I'd love to go look at the definition, but that is not, this looks like it's a parcel which is industrial, a parcel which is.
it does look like that, but I guess if they would develop each parcel, then you would take it each parcel, yes, you can build a resort, but no, you cannot do the multifamily under the M1. But if they use the mixed-use option, which is what they had on their application, they can, because their entire mixed-use development is over 50 acres.
So what's interesting is that's contrary to the summary document that Julie sent.
Well, that's because the summary document that I sent to you deals with the, incentivized development option, not the MUD. So you're thinking about
This is you're talking about the overlay or the ED? We're not talking about the overlay. The overlay requires a state
We're
road.
talking about the mixed-use development option, which is permitted in the M1 district.
I was surprised to read that.
Yeah.
By the district, by the code of what? Of
By
district
your scheduled district regulations.
which have been in place forever.
Yeah, but it's been amended from time to time.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I don't think that's something we looked at here, however.
No.
Okay.
We didn't look at anything in
Well, 50-acre requirement.
so, moving on.
And I do know that in your document, you said it's clearly not in the spirit of what was.
It's not. Your mixed-use development wants to combine commercial, residential uses for basically a work-life environment,
Right, and
this is not.
industrial and.
Right.
Well, I'm sure this was a lapse on our part when the ED went into place, because it was not thinking of the reference back to the M1 that said you could do this in an ED.
I was pretty sure that we excluded specifically the M1 zone from the ED zone. This is not in the ED zone.
That's correct, it's not, but your M1 district
Yeah.
refers you to the ED district for permitted use.
Now,
Same uses.
It's the same uses, yes. Yep. So, and as, we talked about, they're not abutting two state roads, so that would require a variance.
well, there are a number of things that require variances.
There are a number of things.
Would you highlight those, please?
Sure, so, beginning. Yes, there's no frontage on a state road, so that would require a variance. As far as the mixed-use development goes, that, and then also Lot 2 does not have road frontage, so they cannot have a front yard. So they would need a variance for that, as shown on the plan. I'm not sure if they're going to provide a public right-of-way.
And proximity to wetlands or any of that stuff that doesn't come into play? Is there a red flag that goes up there at all?
I did provide a comment that they need to provide more information such as grading, stormwater management, so we can evaluate, how close to the wetlands and floodplain they are, if there's any disturbance. We talked a little bit about building height. So Black Buffalo, if they come in just the M1 district, they will need a variance for building height. If they come in with the entire development, they're allowed to go up to 65 feet, so they would not. The entire development under the mixed-use option, they're allowed to go up to 65 feet, so they would not need a variance.
The entire development, meaning everything that's on this map?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that conforms with over 50 feet, over 50 acres?
So your mixed-use development, you can have it on a tract 25 acres or more.
Right.
If you want to do multifamily or residential, then that tract has to be 50 acres or more.
Right.
Yes.
Misty, could you refer to the number you're talking about too, when you,
Oh, boy, okay.
I mean, you don't have to start over.
No, I won't, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So moving on to comment 7, we talk about the multifamily dwellings. There's a note on the plan that says 16 plus or minus multifamily residential uses are proposed. There are some existing resources, natural resources on that property, so they need to take into account those resources. Get a net area, wetlands.
That gets subtracted out.
Yeah, and subtract it out and then provide us with, how many units.
I don't know if
Are
you're
permitted.
there yet, but what is the proposed square footage of the houses that have acquired?
And do you have any general idea on the quad square footage? You're muted. Dan, you're muted.
I apologize for that. I don't have a good read on the actual square footage, but I feel like it was said at one point that they were between 1,600 and 2,000 square feet. But I can follow up with Black Buffalo and get a more specific square footage for the commission.
And that's each unit?
Yeah, so that would be times 4 as part of a quad.
And the kudos, how many units in the kudo?
That I'm not familiar with. I do know they are multi-story, and I think they are more like duplex, so maybe 2 units per building.
And is all of those what you would call resort?
Yes.
The quads and the kudos?
The quads would be more of a single-family residence. The kudos would be your resort-type structures.
And the kudos, so in other words, motels?
Yes. I don't know about motels, but something you would rent almost like a VRBO or through a service to, similar to a hotel.
They have kitchen facilities?
Yes.
I'm confused. Are the quads attached, like 2 units facing one way, 2 facing the other as one big building?
I understand there were clusters.
They kind of, I think they're part of a quad, so there's 4 of them, and then they have kind of an internal shared kind of, let's call it a courtyard area.
This might be relevant for you as you guys are planning, but in this township, Airbnbs and VRBOs are not allowed. So if this was a less than 30 days, you shouldn't say those aren't allowed. You cannot rent out a space for less than 30 days unless it's a hotel or.
What?
Right?
Yes.
Follow-up question, folks are there. Say that the M1, according to the District of Regulations, allowed resort uses?
Yes.
So the resort district is where short-term rentals are allowed in this township.
Oh,
Oh, they are,
So-
right, well,
So
sorry,
you said
then,
hotel.
feasibly then, short-term rentals would be allowed in the M1
it's
zone,
a
correct?
resort.
Okay.
Right.
Well, Larry Simon
So, in other words, but that was the kudos
That's
one,
insane.
right?
Yes.
No, I'm talking about the quad one. That's what I was just referring to. If the plan was to have a bunch of houses that are rented for 30 days, less than 30 days, that's not gonna be
No,
allowed.
they were talking single family, they said.
Yeah, those are, the quads would be more permanent.
Okay, I wasn't sure
Kudos would be
about
more
that.
the resort.
And if they're in groups of 3 or more, per the definition in your ordinance, that would be considered a multifamily use,
Yes.
not a single family.
Right.
Moving on, number 8, we talked about proposed plat 2 as being is landlocked. And because there's no public road, there's no front yard, therefore a variance would be required.
What plans would you have to make Schoonover Road a usable road? Which it's not presently.
Yeah, we haven't looked at that.
It's a private road.
Yeah.
Right now, it's private, yeah.
So these areas, it was really a block diagram to lay out these different areas.
Right.
If we're to move forward with those uses, it would probably require either putting in some kind of road here that we have to dedicate, or, instead of being, individual lots, they have to be one big.
Well, what's your traffic circle for? Can't you just go off the 12 o'clock position and
Yeah.
put a road in?
Yeah, it's an option, right, yeah. That is an option, yeah. And it would make sense for this to,
And the access for, lot 4? Oh, I see. So you're coming in off Airport Road.
yeah, they have frontage, so it's really lot 2, and the other would have frontage on Airstrip and road, but that would assume that we would be dedicating that as a public road, but that's our map.
Have you looked at, and probably not, but how the new development would impact Airstrip Road? I know it's been designed and approved, but standards, it was designed and approved as, and would this new development create additional, widths or right-of-way? That's something that needs to be looked at.
Understood. I mean, I think it would, so Troy did eventually design it, I thought they
Yeah.
designed the minimum township, but that would be something we
Okay.
have to have our traffic
Okay.
engineer, Tyler, and we look at.
Yeah, okay. Okay, number 9 in our letter, talks about the, maximum 65-foot building height. It talks about the 35-foot building height within the M1 district. However, if they develop with the mixed-use development option, that permitted height goes up to 65 feet. So basically, we're asking them to clear up how they're going to submit this. They're gonna submit the Black Buffalo just under M1, they have to adhere to the 35 feet, or a variance would be required.
And if I could just step in and reiterate what Scott said earlier, this, and Bob echoed, is that, this mixed-use idea, I think had more to do with, mixed residential and commercial, i.e. retail and so forth, rather than, big industry connected, immediately bordering residential. I think this, and given the Vigon location, the new warehouse location, which is also gonna be a manufacturing facility, or at least a bagging facility, as I understand it.
That's what I remember.
And the actual, the old, and then the original Vigon, complex. And given all that, really what you're talking about is an industrial zone, and also the industries along Airstrip Road. Combine all that together, and really you're talking about a mostly industrial use. And then you start throwing residential that way. So that really steps outside the intent, I think, of mixed use. As far as we were concerned, when we shaped the ordinance, Robert, is Robert still here?
He's over to the left here.
You can add, please add if you, talking about intent of the ordinance. Okay.
Bringing up mixed use.
Yeah, okay.
Moving on, comments 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, and 12 talk about wetlands, floodplain, and we're asking them to show more detail to see what the extent of the disturbances, if any, and if it's allowed. There's not enough information on the plan. Comment 13 talks about the required spaces. So right now, they need 132 parking spaces plus one for each employee. So they would need upwards of 132 spaces, and they're proposing 24. So they would need
Yeah, our plan since been revised, to
Okay.
take the parking lot up to 50,
Okay.
maximum 40 per shift. So, yeah, we know we're gonna
Yeah.
I'll just go on record saying I'm always the biggest fan of reducing our parking space requirements. We hate that ordinance issue, the biggest thing in our ordinance.
It overparks, it does.
14 just talks about ADA spaces that they do require. 15 talks about dumpster areas to be provided on the plan and to show circulation, how you get into those. 16 and 17 talk about landscape and lighting. Those would be required with your land development submission. Comment 18 talks about traffic generators. We kind of touched on that with Airstrip Road, and if you do a traffic generation, maybe you can propose future trips and then amend that as you go, something like that. Just an idea.
It'll be tractor trailer trips, right?
You know what, Vigon wasn't a very heavy tractor trailer generator, and neither is Black Buffalo gonna be. It's mainly, they're gonna be, manufacturing, research and development, and building these printers.
So you're not gonna have, hundreds of printers being shipped out every day. They were talking about maybe early in their process, Dan, like a tractor trailer a week, and then maybe if they became more successful, one a day, now obviously, if there's other uses that, start to fill in here, there'd be more tractor trailers, but right now, these are more manufacturing, not warehousing and distribution, field manufacturing stuff. Right. The typical manufacturing, they're definitely on a lower scale of traffic generation, between Black Buffalo and Five Down.
Comment 19, talks about, I saw on proposed lot 1, it looks like you're keeping some of those existing buildings on the bottom, on the planned south side of the lot. That was your intent?
Yeah, I think that'll start to evolve over the time
Okay.
as, buys the property and starts to develop, who
Okay.
will stay, who will renew leases.
Okay.
So I think there's still work to be done.
Okay.
Are you talking about sort of in lot 5, or?
Yeah, she's probably,
I was specifically talking about lot 1, but because lot 2 through 5 don't show any proposed development, I wasn't really commenting on those.
you're talking about these buildings.
Yeah.
And all those RV trailers too. A bunch of trailers in there.
Presumably they would go away, yeah?
Yeah, as I noticed, buys the property, they're gonna have to renegotiate all these leases from the terms of who's gonna stay, renew, or not be part of the airport. I can't speak for that.
Yeah,
I'm
Dan,
not sure, Dan.
I don't wanna put you on the spot or anything, but do you wanna talk about the existing structures on the airport and, what the future intent there might be, one way or another?
Yeah, I think at least in the short term and potentially for the long term, a lot of those buildings would remain, especially in the short term, because, as the site develops, I think some of those uses, that you have the distillery there, that's a nice use for the property, and some of the other tenants, I think, I could see that working out where they could stay. Obviously, I don't know 100% certainty how this site's going to develop beyond just the Black Buffalo and the Vigon pieces, but I would say we would see those buildings staying in the short term.
You're not showing one of the buildings on here. There's another hangar you're missing.
Yeah, there was an updated survey that was done, this plan was together, prior to an updated survey being performed.
Comment 20 just goes through a list of items that the sketch plan needs to show, location map. But I know there's 2 parcels involved on that should be shown on the plan. And then comment 21.
There's 2 on the airport site, and then there's Vigon, so just for clarity, so buying all those
Right.
properties. Yeah,
But
all
aren't
four.
there 2
There's
parcels?
2, yeah, there are, you're right.
That includes all lots 1 through 5?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
okay.
correct.
Yeah, that needs to be shown. Comment 21, we're just asking that if, this will be developed in phases, whether you do the mixed-use option or not, I think that, future layout, maybe
Right.
some design information to help the township, review that would be helpful. 22, just again, proposed lot 2 is landlocked and must be revised to show frontage on a public street. That's the Saldo, so that would be a waiver if they don't have frontage. 23 talks about lighting again. 24, your proposed lot 4 is a lot deeper than it is 5. There's a proportion of 2.5 to 1 that's, generally accepted. But you should look at that. 25, landscape plan is required. 26, we just talked about, if any open space rec facilities or if a fee in lieu of would be provided, that should be addressed in the development plan. And then 27 talks about meeting stormwater management, erosion control. For the Saldo, for stormwater management ordinance, for DHCC, everything. 28, we talk a little bit about the floodplain ordinance. There's not enough information on the plan to, make a determination if the floodplain is disturbed or if they need any other permitting. So just they need to show the grading, stormwater, things like that. And then 29 is just a drafting comment about your parking space.
Right.
They have your work cut out for you guys. What are they gonna 3D, what are they manufacturing there?
The actual, so they don't, it's a, there's a new technology where they have these printers that can print, I guess it's the walls, like wall panels for housing and.
Instead of using hot glue, they're using like a concrete mixture.
Right. So the actual printers
The
that.
best in post-Soviet architecture. That's great.
So it's not the actual concrete walls that are being made here, it's the printers that create the walls, the technology.
Toll Brothers.
This corner over here not part of the,
That's correct, these
This is like a prison.
lots that are on the public sector, their own lots.
is that what you're back there?
Is that what you're pointing?
Yeah.
The lower right.
It's not really a cul-de-sac there.
Nah, it's kind of, it's not a blend.
There's a pull-off.
And there's parking.
Yeah, it's like a pull-off, right, it's sort of.
But it was actually, if you look.
Well, that's the hangar,
No, it's not, it's
yeah.
definitely not, no.
Okay.
Cool, that's funny. Yeah, that explains it, because I was curious, I was like, why wouldn't they have put it right there on lot 5? And then like, Robert was saying, it's actually just a runway,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look like you got enough space because it's that little.
We're not a terribly,
Especially if the main objective is this. Can I, permission to say something?
you can say whatever you'd like, Michael.
You already have been.
You've, right, I haven't stopped you yet.
Stopped yet.
That's true. All right, just as a thought for the applicant. Sounds to me like while a mixed use is technically feasible in an M1, there's a bunch of variances that you need, and the biggest one being the state road. And it sounds to me like this planning commission, at least, I don't know what the supervisor is not a fan of industrial and residential together. So I'm doubtful that the township would be very happy about giving you those variances. I don't know about, I can't speak for the supervisors, I can speak for what I just heard here, so.
And insofar as the saldo is concerned, the township, that is to say the supervisors can give, they're not called variances, they're called.
They're waivers of the subdivision land
But
development.
a variance must be obtained through the zoning hearing board, which is a whole different.
Yeah, that's a.
Oh, wait, is that mixed up?
You make, you're
We
thinking,
do the waivers, I'm sorry.
we do waivers and we pass on recommendations for conditional uses,
Right.
but that goes to the supervisor, but variances and special exception, yeah, they
So
go.
actually,
Go to-
is the requirement for the state road, is that a variance or a waiver that would be needed?
That would be a variance.
That'd be variance,
Because it's a zoning
Yeah.
rule.
Okay,
it's not a construction thing.
so we have nothing to say about that then?
Well, we can
We
recommend.
can recommend whatever we want.
We can recommend that a variance be required, let's say. We can agree with the Boucher and James assessment. I think it's pretty spot on from what I've read of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically in true to the letter, about these variances and waivers required, correct, but not in the spirit of the,
Right.
of the ordinance, which was.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think this body seems to be questioning is where, you know, how close to the spirit of the ordinance, of the ED ordinance is this.
That's the prudence one.
Yeah, to use the ED ordinance in that area of that gray area that we somehow tripped into or fell into when we designed the ED zone. To say in the M1 that they should refer to the ED zone for permitted use, I don't know, maybe that's a glitch in the ordinance that we should review, but if at least there's something like this, then I'm not really even sure how I feel about it. I mean, if it's done well, it might be fine, but to me, I'm looking at Vigon traffic, semi-tractor trailers in and out. Same thing with this.
Because there will be.
And there will be. It'll be in and out. There'll be
No way.
traffic and so forth.
I would expect it to be, it's an
Right.
industrial.
And it's gonna be heavy use on Airstrip Road, which will then someday be a public road. But for all that, and then to lay in some resort, short-term, I'm not even sure how is the resort, the Kudo Resort, how is that conceived? Are there 4 Kudos or 1, or is it all one big collection of housing? I mean, how is that envisioned? You say they're gonna have small kitchens. You know, how is that conceived? Because around here, the law seems to be more applicable in the abuse than not, if that's even a way to phrase it. You know, you build something like that, and pretty soon people are living there. And they're stretching it beyond 30 days, which is the law. And they don't care. They just use it as that. They become default landlords, shall we say. Or even worse, something like this gets conceived and built, and then the developer decides he doesn't want any part of it and backs out, and now it sells for, you know, half of what it was worth originally, and it becomes something altogether different. It transforms. So we've seen that too many times, and couple that with the proximity to industrial and heavy traffic and that kind of thing. The absence of state roads, I mean, there's a reason for that.
I can't see any good coming of it.
We wanted to present kind of our thought process.
Right.
The transition from the industrial to the residential.
Right.
But we also wanted to come here and get your thoughts, and we're understanding.
I do wish you, much like Doug and Rob, I wish you could do it without wiping out the air skip, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
But, you know, I mean.
The only lot that's big enough slot, well, actually.
No, I know.
You don't necessarily have the same lots, I mean, yeah, it's hard.
It is hard.
Well, you can't.
There's a lot of wetland, you know.
There's a lot, no, there is.
You know.
It's wet in there, and it's got its own, all has its own problems. I'd hate to see
I mean,
it.
there's other places for this, but not that leave it open long stretch.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
But that's,
Okay.
You know what to do, or not, or whatever.
We need to make a motion in those places?
No, it's a sketch plan. We don't have anything we don't have anything that we're required to act upon. It hasn't been a formal submission, so.
are these guys in the area on Black Buffalo, all right?
Where?
They're in Elizabeth, New Jersey temporarily, if I understood the question correctly.
Do they have a cool logo? Sounds like they could. Well, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Very much, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, we got more.
Okay. Okay.
Targeted for Missy. My question is this excessive for sketch plan? I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think it gives them, an idea of what we're doing.
That's my house.
And that's really what you're coming in for in the sketch plan. Yeah, it is a lot. It is. Some is more, some
they
is
have to
less.
do stormwater and all this stuff? Don't they already, I mean, they're engineers, don't they already know they've got to do this stuff?
They should, yeah.
So if you're doing a sketch plan, they're not going to put it on, they're just going to keep it.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, it's a lot.
You could just say stormwater, wetland, things that are obvious. It's gotta be a lot of work.
You have certain things that, you know, I understand.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, but as far as like landscaping and lighting, that's not a lot.
Guys, I'm gonna go one thing here.
Slow down, we're taking a different bridge.
What are we talking about?
Hey, Michael. It looks like the only thing under 8, the new business, It needs one of our letters that we've been notified, is that correct? Is that what we're looking for here?
Yes, if you recall the, DCED, DCED multimodal grant that you
Yeah.
guys approved, and back in July.
Yeah.
We're resubmitting the exact same application.
Right, that's-
through PennDOT.
All right, then I make the motion that,
Second.
Mr. Karatak,
No.
prepare the letter for us to the township, if that'll be okay. Seconded by David, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. All right.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. I've never sounded better than when you write it on behalf of her.
By the way, this is the quietest I've ever heard you.
Yeah, you're quiet today.
Me?
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a chance to read the letter yet.
Usually the two of us arguing, but
came in late today and I was.
it's usually the two lawyers arguing.
I'm sort of just going along for the ride right now.
Really?
All right.
It's the recording secretary tonight.
Amendments to the ED zone. First of all, why are we talking about amending the ED zone that we did? What do we want to do here with this?
Well,
Go ahead. No, hang on. Where do we want to go tonight and talk about with this amending?
I'm gonna turn this over to Julie since she's working.
Okay.
I think it's, a further step in, trying to work out something that we, quite find a definition of
Yeah.
for a mixed use is satisfactory. He's been working on
Okay.
the possibilities.
Go ahead, Dave.
While we're on it, I think a good point came up here tonight about how, we have essentially said anything in the ED zone is also in the industrial zone. You know, maybe we should revisit that.
We should divorce the two.
Yeah, we should divorce the two. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
that's something else we can discuss.
Well, I think
Well, can I,
well, Dave is first, because he was, yes, Dave.
I sat down with Julie for what, 42 hours? I mean, how long was it?
It wasn't quite that
Okay.
long.
It was about at least an hour and a half. Anyway, went through a whole bunch of comments and things, and she clarified a lot. Thank you again for that.